Oh, I love these faces. Hi, Candace. Hello, Holly. Hello, Christina. Yay, yay, yay. Ashley's here. Ooh.
Yay. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, welcome, welcome.
Come on in. Don't be shy. If you're in a place where you can turn your camera on, we'd love to see your beautiful faces and connect with you.
Okay.
We're just going to give it a few more minutes for people to roll in as I monitor our waiting room.
Yay. Yeah, as you guys are popping on, we would love to invite you in the chat to let us know what has been dying. What's been dying, or what's died, what's been dying? What do you feel like you've been letting go of recently? We're so interested.
Yes. Beautiful. Welcome, Lila. Hello. Come on in.
Hi, Lila.
Make sure to
Yay.
utilize our chat, come in and say hello. Yeah, what's been dying, right? If you're here for the void, we know that you're probably vibing with that in between kind of shifty collective energy we've been feeling, kind of being in between an ending perhaps and a new beginning. So what's ended? Or what is ending? What are you feeling like is coming with this ending? What are you letting go of? Please share with us, because Tilly and I are going to bring it and speak all about what's been moving through us as well. And we love for this to be a two-sided conversation.
Oh, yes, Holly. The death of the girl who didn't feel worthy of love from self and others. Rest in peace.
So powerful, Holly. Yes.
So good.
Mm-hmm.
So good. I love that.
Yay.
This call already feels really soft. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but it feels really soft. People pleasing. Yes, Ashley. That's dying in me too.
Same. That's also been coming up for me.
I was watching Chelsea and Oren's live, and they were talking about giving these things that are dying in identity, and mine was like Patty people pleaser. I'm like, she's going. Patty's out.
I love
No,
that.
no more. She's gone. And it's really interesting. Sometimes as these things are like dying, it's almost like the other side, at least for me, comes back with a vengeance. Like, I'm just really gonna not make people happy. Like, it's almost like more, if that makes sense, which I feel like it's just bringing balance to the whole thing. But
Yeah.
switching locations and identities. Oh, powerful. I love, love, love changing cities. And it's such a death. And I love that you're here, because it's such a powerful transition to change your city, because you're literally going to a whole new vibration of plants, rocks, location, like just everything in the place is like attuning to a new energy. So it is total death of like an old just vibration and frequency. So I love, love that. Ashley and the girl who does it all. Yes. Yes. I saw this thing on Mother's Day that was like, it was like this mom, and it was like some guy, and it's like, you don't have to do everything. And she's like, well, then who's gonna fucking do it? It just made me laugh. But I mean, someone has to eventually. Like, I think if we all just stopped doing everything, then it would someone eventually somewhere is gonna have to pick up their socks, pick up their own damn socks, wash their own dishes. Yes, I love this. I love this. Lindsay, what's dying in you right now?
Oh, great question. I can totally resonate with what's being brought up already, people pleasing. I've been going through kind of a health journey recently. I've been cutting out a lot of foods. So currently not eating gluten, dairy, or eggs, and noticing how hard it is for me to inconvenience other people through my dietary needs, through having to change dinner plans, particularly my family. And it's such an amazing journey to see how I'm people pleasing through doing what's good for my body. And still, this old part of me comes up where it's like, oh, it's fine. Like, I'll just stay quiet about this, or, I won't send the food back if they got my order wrong. And so I'm stepping into that, like, no, I'm taking care of my body now. My health comes first, and using my voice to express that graciously and with love. So people pleasing. Also, really interesting, Ashley, with the being the girl who does it all. That's something that's dying within me as well. Really, I'm having a conversation tomorrow live on my IG actually about the death of the boss babe, like the girl that needs to do it all, and the CEO energy, and like being like the partner and maybe the mom and the business owner and the woman and like the hustler, the grinder. And it's like, I have no desire to do it all. I really, truly do not. And so for me, it's been asking for help and really sharing, particularly with my partner, with my fiance, I need you. I need you because I don't want to do it all. I'm feeling trapped by dishes. I'm feeling trapped by responsibilities. And I used to be the one that didn't want to inconvenience others by saying, like, can you do this? That's no more. Now it's I'm not doing it. And I'm saying that to myself first, and then asking for help from the people around me. Can you support me with this? I want to feel free. And that's the way I've been expressing it to my partner. And that's scary and vulnerable to be, like, to me, it kind of feels like I'm handing my freedom over to someone else, which is an interesting edge to explore as well. And so those things are dying for sure. And I think lastly, and this keeps coming up and will continue to come up, but any parts of me that are still playing small, like I feel like I've been cracked open into the realm of the limitless, which we're going to talk about tonight with the void, and really playing in that and allowing myself to raise my own bar, raise my own energetic standard for my life, and not play small, just to really get out of my comfort zone in a fun, playful way, even though it can be scary and again can be a little bit of an edge. That's what's dying within me, is the fear of the unknown, and stepping into the excitement and playfulness and the explorer in me, the adventurer in me, and bringing that out feels amazing. So thanks everyone for saying yes, Lindsay. Love that, Lindsay. Thank you. It feels good to be seen. So thanks for listening. What about you, Tilly?
Yeah, all of it. Everything you guys are saying. It's really interesting how there's such a pattern, because what you just said about not being worthy of receiving, Holly, that's coming up to fucking die. Not speaking up for myself and my needs, yes, that's coming up to die. I've noticed that, yeah, it just feels like a completely new way of being, to be honest. It feels like everything's coming up to die. Like, especially for me, is like this masculine way that I and all of us of a collective have been living our lives in this, like, um just this way, yeah, like this, like, CEO, like, go go go, like, you've got to do it all, da 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 da. And I'm like, it actually feels so rebellious to just sit in the grass and do nothing. And I feel so, like, I'm like, this is so bad. Like, this is so against what everyone thinks I should be doing right now. And it feels like this little rebel in me is like, I'm just gonna sit here and not do shit. I'm just gonna, like, play in the grass with my fingers, and that feels really good. So more of that. Yeah, what else is dying? There's a lot of things about money that are coming up to die. Just the way I think about money and the way that I feel like the things that have value in my life are coming up to die. It's like no longer money. I'm just so done with the whole system. I'm so done with the whole thing. Like, I don't even look at my bank account anymore. I'm just like, whatever. I'm just I'm just here. And I just, the things that have value, like, and I'm just so ready for the things that have value to be like we look at someone and we're like, gosh, she has so much free time. Like, how dope. Or like, she gets to spend so much time with her baby. Like, how dope. Or, she gets to read that book. Like, like, that's like the real, like that's the real flex, lately for me. Like, I see Megan and she's like, oh, I just finished all these sexy romances. And I'm like, that's what I'm looking at now. It's not like this girl with the Prada bag. I'm like, oh, you had time to, like, read a full book? Like, that's going, like, that's like, those are the things that I'm really, like, tuning into that have value. So Yeah, Holly, I'm glad you're feeling that too. Yeah, just like smelling the roses is coming up to live, and like walking straight by them is coming up to die, you know, like just not even noticing. So, yeah, there's there's this whole freaking shift happening. And Lindsay and I were talking about it, that like even on a collective level, like with COVID, like our whole collective came up, things coming up to die. And so now we are collectively in a void, and then also in this year of 7 being the water is like a voidy energy. So it's not anything that we're gonna like get through quick, you know. It's not this like fast thing of like, oh, when can I get through this? It's like everything, like with COVID, like it was like this long death. And so like just expect the void to be this also, like give it its time. It's not like, oh, next week or next month. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit in this and be in the juice. But I feel like I'm kind of diving into the topic. So do you wanna say anything on that, Lindsay? Oh, I'm glad you're feeling it, Ashley. Yes, we're so glad you guys are here. What a cute, intimate group. I love this. For you guys that are here for the first time, welcome. We do this very conversation style, like we're all just a bunch of girlfriends, like talking about what's happening in our lives and just kind of how what we've been using to move through it. And I feel like change starts with women always. And so it's just that, like we're the change makers. So we're here to like talk about and reflect with each other. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. For anyone that's just joining us, we were just kind of talking about what's come up to die, because we are here to talk about the void, as you all know. The void being the space in between, the void being, as Tilly said, when we're feeling a little bit lost in the sauce, like we're in between endings and new beginnings. We're in the process of transition or in the process of change. And when we're in the in between, that means things are dying so that new things can be born. And we're feeling all of that energy at the same time. So if you've jumped in and missed the beginning of that conversation, please feel free to share in the chat. Come say hi. If you can turn your cameras on, don't be shy. Come hang out with us. Especially because you get to meet everyone and we love connecting with you. So if you can turn your camera on and feel comfortable doing so, please do. Otherwise, hit us up in the chat. Let us know what's dying for you. Tilly and I were sharing a little bit about what's dying for me, but something that I want to say before we really dive into the meat and potatoes today of the void is I know it's not by accident that so many of us are clearing and letting go of the same things. I know it's not by accident that we're letting go of the people pleasing, of the needing to do it all, of playing small and putting ourselves in a box. That's how you know you are in the void. The void is a space of limitlessness because we've just created this space from these endings, right? When things end or we release things, it's almost like, you know, we have this energetic backpack on with all of these bricks that start to weigh us down and start to get a little uncomfortable. The straps get uncomfortable, our back starts hurting, and we're like, oh, okay, I think it's time for me to go through that backpack and see like what's the heaviest thing in here? What's no longer in alignment for me? Like literally my spine is curling and I need to be able to stand up tall and feel good walking through my life. So let me go through my backpack and let me find the heaviest bricks, or maybe the old, I don't know, banana that was left in there that's like rotting. And it used to be this beautiful fruit we could eat. And now the fruit's overripe. It's had its time. It's ready to clear out. So when we start going through this backpack and we're taking the things out of it one at a time, not only are we lightening our load, but that backpack now has space to put new things in, lighter things. So along our journey in the void, it's almost like we get to collect little gems along the way. We get to collect little jewels and things that excite us, things that feel light, things that inspire us, and we get to put them back in our backpack. So this is the beautiful part of the void, is that it truly is the transition. The void is the journey. And yet we tend to really fear it, right? Tell me in the chat, how many of you, or you can raise your hand if your camera's on, like how many of you often feel afraid of change, feel afraid of transitioning? I definitely do. Heck yeah. Because we're leaving behind what's known and we're moving into the unknown. And the thing is, when we start new beginnings, there will be some knowns that come back in, right? We'll have an idea of where we're going maybe, or what we're birthing next, but the void is the in-between time. And when it's the in-between time, it means that we can dive into every single thing that could be possible for us, ridiculous and not ridiculous, pragmatic and just absolutely magical. We get to look into the void and we choose who we're becoming. And we get to really take a look at who we're not anymore, who we are no longer, right? So again, you guys have probably heard us talk about this analogy before, but Tilly and I love talking about the butterfly. So magical, going from this caterpillar into a cocoon and then birthing these beautiful wings and becoming a new creature entirely. The void is like the cocoon time. And there's the cocoon, like Tilly was saying, it needs the time. The caterpillar needs the time to build its cocoon, to get comfortable in its cocoon, to start being undone genetically, turning into the genetic goo, and then rebuilding itself into the butterfly, all the way into busting out of that cocoon. I don't know if you guys have ever watched a butterfly hatch. If you haven't, look it up on YouTube. It's amazing. But even when the butterfly comes out of its cocoon, its wings are all crumpled and wet, and it takes hours for those wings to dry and for that butterfly to fly away. So all of that is part of the void energy. And it does, I mean, the void can have different feelings of it depending on where you're at in the void, but it is this process of becoming. And when I kind of personify the caterpillar turning into the butterfly, can you imagine how scary it probably is for the caterpillar when it starts feeling like, okay, it's time for me to change. I've never built a cocoon before. I don't know what that's like, but I guess I'm going to start weaving a cocoon. Like, what am I doing? Why am I shutting myself off from the world? Like, oh, this is kind of uncomfortable. Wait, maybe I made it too tight and it's getting in there. And then it's like, okay, what do I do now? And it's like, okay, maybe I'll rest. Oh gosh, now I'm unraveling. What's happening to me? Right? I mean, every single part of the process sounds uncomfortable. Even when it's in the genetic goo and it's unraveled, it's how do I build myself back up? How do I know what I'm going to be on the other side of this? I've never flown before. I am a ground animal. I live on my feet. I have many of them. My legs carry me. And all of a sudden I have less legs. What's happening? What's this? What's this on my back? Like, it's amazing to think about. So the butterfly can be an incredible spirit animal. It can be an incredible mirror to reflect our own void process. And knowing that even when we feel uncomfortable, we are transitioning into something so beautiful. So that's kind of what we're diving into here with the void. That's the energy of the void. And we're probably all feeling different iterations of this energy. But I'm going to step in and say this with confidence. I consider myself an expert at transition and an expert at transformation because of the consciousness that I've gone through transitions in my life with. That does not mean I know everything. That does not mean I am a master at it. It just means that I've been through transition enough to understand that I'm never going to know. I'm never going to know. There's always more to learn. And I know that Tilly is also an expert at transition and transformation and her own growth. And I know that every single one of you in this call are also experts at change. Even just looking at your human body from the time you were born, like a newborn baby to now, think about how much your body has changed. And you've never known what you were going to become, really. You didn't know what you'd look like when you were getting older, but we didn't get stuck on that, really. It just was like a part of life. Even the way we've transitioned from our grades and our education levels, we've transitioned from job to job, relationships, friendships, partners, the transitions we've gone through with our families. Like, you all have navigated change every single moment of your day, your entire life, and that makes you an expert. And I just want to reflect that back to you to remind you that you've actually been in the void before. And every time I'm in the void, I'm in a transition, it feels like I'm there for the first time because I don't know what I'm doing. That's like the main thing that I say to myself is, I don't know what I'm doing. I literally have no idea what I'm doing. Really. I don't know what I'm doing in my relationships. I don't know what I'm doing in my business. I don't know what I'm doing teaching this call. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here and I'm doing it, right? And the more that we think about it, the weirder it gets. And it gets so like, whoa, it can get very meta, right? And yet when we go back and remember, I've done this so many times. I've died, been in the void, and then rebirthed myself. it gives us a certain sense of direction, and it can give us a memory, a muscle memory, or an energetic memory of being in this space before, and maybe how we've navigated it before, what worked, what didn't work. And that's some of what we're going to explore tonight as well. So let me pass it on to you, Tilly. What's coming up for you as I'm saying all of this? And do you feel called to bring anything into the space specifically right now?
Yeah, I just feel like, okay, my favorite thing about the butterfly is it can't even imagine. Like the caterpillar cannot even think of what's about to kind of like how it's going to be, like has never seen the world that high. And so can we all just take a deep breath in and just on the exhale, just settle into this, like, I am actually not supposed to know anything right now. Can you just relax into that? Like, I am not even supposed to have any clue of where I'm going right now. And in this place, I am actually perfectly where I'm supposed to be on this journey. If you are on this call, you are in the void and you are not supposed to know shit about your next steps. So can you just relax into that? How does that feel in your system? Like, how does that feel in your body? Like, oh, thank God. So this is my favorite thing about transition and conscious transition, like you're talking about, is when you know you're supposed to be in this place, you can relax into this place and actually tap into the wonder. And then you can begin to use this place to be the most powerful transition you have ever had in your life. So I want you to think about the transition from maybe moving in with your partner or even going through a breakup. So in this transition, when you're going through a breakup, like maybe you guys move houses and you're in this weird place of the transition, but this is actually a really dope time when you've moved out of your old routine, you're actually at a place to form new neural pathways in your brain. And so when you have to form new neural pathways in your brain, like imagine you change all of the furniture around in your house. You're going to have to move differently through your house. And so this is a beautiful time to implement new routines and new habits that are actually serving yourself. And so how can you do this in your life? I might even invite you guys to move around all your furniture at this time. Like seriously, I don't care what you're going through, like move all the shit around in your house. They say like 27 things in your house, at least 27 are going to make you move differently through life. And then you have to become conscious at that point, because you're not just going through life as a robot anymore. You're not like do. You're like, oh, where did I put the sugar again? You have to like stop and bring yourself fully present to be like, oh yeah, the sugar's over here now, or this is over here now. And so this is what's so dope about conscious transition. Whatever you're going through that's coming up to die, and this place right here is such a gift, because now you have whole this whole thing that's been set up for you to form new habits. So maybe now that you moved out from your partner, maybe now you can read instead of watch Netflix. Maybe now you can eat a different diet because they ate this. So I want you to guys think about the transition that you have been going through, what you're letting go, and kind of being lost in the sauce here, and how like this time that maybe like say you're letting go of people pleasing. So if you're not people pleasing and someone asks you to do something and you're like, no, I'm actually not going to do that, what can you do with your time now that you're not doing that thing? Like it's like what is your new go-to, and what is your new way of moving through life? So I think the void is so dope, especially when you realize that you're in it, because yeah, it's like really uncomfortable. I sat in the void today, like on purpose, and I'm going to give you guys this practice to do. And it was very just like ski wampus. I was just like, what is where? And it was like just everything was crazy. And in that, it's like nothing is known and everything is possible there. So anything is possible for you guys, like at this point, if you're letting go of all this stuff. And you can also use it to let go of more stuff. So say the people pleaser's dying in you, like maybe the part of you that is not open, like is wanting more pleasure in your life, gets to come online, if that makes sense. So like it can just stack on top of each other. So yeah, the void is one of my favorite places to be, because it's like, oh my gosh, like there's all this room for new things, and I have to move through life differently, so I actually get to consciously choose how I'm going to move through life now. So anything you can do in the void to switch it up, I would do. I love cutting my hair, hence this. I love dyeing my hair. I love looking in the mirror and being like, you are not the same person. And I love just like changing things, like going and picking clothes that I would never pick, you know, like an outfit that I maybe wouldn't have worn, my past self wouldn't have worn, and like bringing in this new version of myself, because it's not just these little things that are dying with you. It's like parts, it's almost like your whole identity. At least that's how it feels like to me. It's my whole identity that is dying, and I'm letting it go. And so there's all these parts about my new identity that I get to invite in, and I get to choose from there. So Lindsay, I know you have some stuff on that about choosing. I love the thing with the mirror that you were talking about. I don't know if this is the moment, but
This is the moment. Yeah, I receive it, and let's bring it through. Yes. Okay, so I feel called, before I dive into this, can everyone type in the chat, what does the void feel like to you? You can say an emotion, you can say a color, you can say a word, but what does the void feel like to you? You can, I mean, feel free, you can write a couple sentences, you can write a novel. It can be as long or as short as you want it to be. But just get conscious with your void in your life and notice how it feels. Okay, beautiful. Like a
cozy. Yeah.
nice cozy nap where I feel held and loved like a mother's womb. Oh my
Mm,
gosh, that's a lovely void space. Yes, Holly. Yes. Ashley
yeah.
said fuzzy, like I can't see or think clearly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. It kind of reminds me of well,
Yes.
I'll say that later. I'll say that later. Carly said empowering. All right. I love that. I love that. For me, I'll share that the void and transition usually, or used to in the past, it made me so afraid. I didn't like it at all. It was the most uncomfortable place I could possibly be. I would feel so anxious. I would feel constantly triggered. And those feelings come back up for me every time I'm in a void, even now, just because that past version of myself is like, oh, we've been here before, right? So Sonia said excited but nervous, fearful but hopeful and faithful. Yeah, so it sounds like there's some duality here for you, Sonia. I love that. Christina said it feels like there's no direction and I can do anything but it's blank. Yeah, great way to describe it. Absolutely. That's so beautiful. Yes. Yeah, so again, the void can range. And honestly, I think every transition that we go through and every void that we're in will feel different. For me, when I started consciously going through my transitions, I got to sit with that fear for the first time of change. And this is really ironic because I'm a life path 5. 5 is literally the number of change and expression. If you're a life path 5, it can often you can often have changes in cycles. So for me, it's about every 4 years I go through a giant death and a giant rebirth. Every 4 years I've switched careers, I've switched relationships, I've switched hairstyles, I've switched states I've lived in, and I never mean to do that. But looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's a pattern. I see that. Sonia said 5 is my life path. Yes, makes sense. Totally. Also, Lila said that her void feels dark, isolating, worried. Yeah, purging, hopeful, and transformative.
Mm.
Yeah, it's almost like we're in this dark tunnel and then we're kind of going into the light at the same time. There's a lot of duality here. So with that life path 5 energy and change, it's actually one of my, I've claimed this for myself, but for me, I've claimed that change is one of my destinies. I am meant to become comfortable with change. And if you told me that 4 or 5 years ago, I would have been like, you are crazy. Change is scary. It will never feel comfortable. Like, no, why would I enjoy change so much? And as I've become more conscious and I've been able to sit with my fear, that darkness, not that it's not still there, but there's been a whole other side that's opened up, which it sounds like some of you are tapped into, which is the possibility of it. So I want to illuminate this with something my guides gave me earlier in meditation. So I also sat with the void today. Was sitting in silence and total darkness, meditating. And my guides brought forth this beautiful analogy. Have you guys ever been like to a carnival or a state fair or something like that? And they have a fun house. And there's this one section of the fun house that's a maze of like glass and mirrors. And so you're trying to find your way kind of through the fun house, but you keep like bumping into yourself because you just see yourself everywhere and you can't tell which path you can walk through and like which one is a dead end. If you haven't experienced it, it's probably a good thing because it's very like kind of weird and scary. If you have experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But that's kind of the position my guides were showing me in. And so I was going through this fun house of all these different mirrors. And I just kept seeing myself and seeing myself and seeing myself. And I was in this maze and I was trying to get out. And I was getting very stressed because I couldn't find the way out. And in every mirror, it was kind of like, I didn't want to look at myself. And I was like, that's not me. That's not me. Like all these mirrors are fake. I'm in a fun house. Like none of this is me. And I started getting really overwhelmed. And then all of a sudden, this warmth came from within. And I just started to breathe. And I was like, okay, I know that the way out of this place is to intuit which mirror is actually me, which me is the path out of here, which reflection has the door of opportunity or the exit out of here, you know? So I kind of sat and I looked at all of the mirrors kind of psychically, intuitively. And even though I looked the same in every single mirror in my reflection, there was one mirror that kind of glowed to me. It was an intuitive pull towards this mirror. And I thought, there I am. That's me. And when I made that choice, my guide's spirit kind of came in and said, actually, all of these mirrors are you. You just allowed your intuition to choose which one you wanted to take now, which exit you wanted to take, which reflection of yourself you wanted to see now. Because all of these mirrors are the limitless possibilities for my rebirth, for my future, for what's next. I could walk through one mirror and feel anxious. I could walk through one mirror and feel free. I could walk through one mirror and feel deep pleasure. I could walk through one mirror and feel trapped. Like every single mirror is a different experience of my life. But my intuition knew. I don't even know what was behind that mirror. I didn't even get that far, but my intuition was like, hey, this mirror, you can walk through this one. This is the way out of the maze. And so I was kind of sitting there with my guides intuitively just being like, this is so interesting. And so they brought me a second analogy, and then I'm going to wrap it together. The second analogy is all of a sudden I was sitting in a totally dark room and I had my eyes closed, right? I'm sitting in meditation. But in my mind's eye, I land and I'm just in this dark room. And so I'm walking around and I put my hand in front of my face and it's so dark. There's no light source. I can't even see my own hand in front of my face. Total darkness, total silence. So I'm walking around and I can feel the ground beneath my feet. And I'm like, hello? Like, hello? And especially for me, I'm used to hearing or feeling or sensing my guides or like some kind of presence, like talking to me. And it was just nothing except my voice echoing back to me. Like nothing was there. So I'm again starting to get a little bit uncomfortable and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to get out of here? Like, blah. And so I'm like looking for this light. I'm looking for a light source to be like, where's the exit? Where's the door? And I'm just looking out for this light. And all of a sudden, again, there's this warmth in my belly. It's my intuition. And I look down and there's the light is inside of me. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. What I'm looking for isn't out there. It's in here. So I sat with this and this whole download came through that I'm now going to pass on to you all. Speaking of identity and with what Tilly shared. When we're living our lives, we get into something that psychologists call a hypnotic rhythm. We get really used to our schedules. We get used to our conditions of our lives, right? We get used to our conversations. And as Tilly was saying, our neurological pathways are a specific pattern. They exist in a specific way. And really, when we're living our lives, we start looking to our external world for our identity. And this is okay. This isn't something to be shamed. It's not something bad. It's just what our mind is wired to do. So we look to our friends and family to tell us who we are, what we're good at, what we maybe can be a little bit better at, right? We look to our job to tell us, you know, who we should be or what we should aspire to do or what we could aspire to do or who we could aspire to be, the music that we listen to, the clothes that have been in our closet for years. Like we look to all of these things to tell us who we are. And then something happens. The universe comes in and starts stripping some of those things away. This is the death part. Our relationships start to transition. Maybe we have some relationships actually exit our lives or a lot of conflict stirs up. our job starts to shift, the foundations start to crumble a little bit, or maybe there's something inside of us that we are feeling is dying all of a sudden. We're like, oh my gosh, like I'm not the same person I used to be. Like this used to be okay with me and now it's not. This, I used to enjoy this and now I don't, or vice versa. And all of a sudden, our external world isn't matching how we feel on the inside anymore. This is like those funhouse mirrors I was talking about. It's where we're looking at our external reality and all of a sudden the image of our lives is almost burning to us. It's like, wait, my relationship is crumbling. That's not how I thought it was going to go. That's my identity is tied up in that. I saw myself in that. So if that relationship is being taken away from me, who am I? Right? Ooh, just got full body chills. With our job starts to shift, change, crumble. Maybe if you're an entrepreneur, it's a slow month. You're not making a lot of money. Maybe if you work in a 9-to-5 job, you don't get that promotion, or things just start to not feel right at work. Your environment shifts and it's like, no, wait, my identity was tied up in what I thought this job could be for me. Now that that's shifting and almost being taken away from me, who am I? Who am I? And it can be so scary. And what my guides were giving to me, and I'm passing on to you as well, is that when we're in this phase, when we're looking around at life and it just feels like everything is a mess, everything's falling apart, things are crumbling, or things are just confusing. Like Ashley said, they feel fuzzy, they feel foggy, we can't see the path ahead. The universe is giving you a gift. It's reminding you that your identity and who you are is not reliant on all of these external circumstances. You get to go within now. You get to tune out the rest of the world and you get to choose your path. You get to choose who you are. You get to choose which reflection you see in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm going to pick her. I'm going to go in this direction. And yes, there's still some unknown in that. We might not know the how or the details of how we become that girl or how we walk that path, but our intuition is always guiding us towards the path of least resistance, the easiest path. And I don't say easiest because there's not going to be challenges. I'm saying easiest because it's the one that feels the most right. Even throughout the highs and lows, the challenges, the delays, it's the path that feels the most right. So I want to ask you all, with this voidy energy, the way that you've been kind of feeling this void experience, you don't have to put it in the chat. You can if you want to, but I want you to think about, how are these changes happening in your life, inviting you to choose your identity, to no longer rely upon that thing or these specific ways of being to define you? Where is that invitation in your life? For me, I'll give you my example. I shared earlier that I've been going through some health stuff, and that health stuff has been very confusing. It's been strange. Nothing is seriously wrong, which I'm very grateful for, but there's enough that my body hasn't been operating normally. So I went on this journey, right? This health journey of me changing my diet and me diving into, oh my gosh, I've been learning so much about all the foods we eat and I could go on for days and days and days, but the main thing it's been bringing up for me is my people pleasing, and the way that I sacrifice still today, after all these years of my conscious work, I still sacrifice my well-being to keep other people comfortable. I make myself small in ways when it comes to my eating. Like, it's so strange. It's so strange. And I know that when those health issues were coming up, I was going to bed crying at night. I was chatting my partner's ear off about like what's going on with me. Like, we thought I might have a cyst at one point. We thought maybe I couldn't have kids in the future. Like, all sorts of hormonal stuff was coming up. It's been really tough. And yet, once I started kind of seeing the blessing in all of it and how it was allowing my soul to expand, there is a worry that goes away, this needing to control the outcome that started to leave. And in my own life, I was just surprised at all the miracles and blessings that as I started going to the doctor and getting tests done and all of these things, it's actually like, no, you're okay. Like, this is okay. All of these things are okay. And so really this experience for me was a mirror for a deeper soul thing, a deeper rooted thing with my people pleasing and other things as well. Obviously, it's more complicated than the way I'm explaining it. But if I wouldn't have consciously chosen in my void, I don't want my experience of this time in my life to be full of fear and be full of doubt. I welcome those feelings and they are here with me. And I choose to be the girl that gets curious. I choose to be the girl that sees this as an adventure. I choose to be the girl that surrenders it to the divine and says, you know what? This is out of my control. So I'm going to dive into learning. I want to see what books I'm interested in. I'm going to start enjoying my food. I'm going to be more mindful about what I put in my body. And I'm just going to let this experience happen and open myself up to it. I'm going to buy a juicer. I'm going to learn how to juice fruit. I'm going to learn how to juice veggies. Yes, I did. And I love it. And that was my opportunity to choose, because I have been the girl in the past that has not chosen at all and felt like she didn't have a choice. I've been in the girl who knew she had a choice and then decided that my experience of this void time was just going to be scary because I thought that's the way it had to be. That's the way I thought change should be. I've always heard change is scary, change is hard. And I was operating in that. And now I have a little bit more of an open perception. Change can be scary, change can be hard, and change can be miraculous. Change can be instantaneous. Change can be the best thing that ever happened to me, right? And so having that perspective gives me a wider lens to choose my experience and have that kind of nuance to it. So yeah, what's coming up for you surrounding that, Tilly? And if any of you can relate or have any questions or reflections, please feel free to put them in the chat as well.
Nothing's really coming up. I think you said that so beautifully. I'm feeling like I might lean into a way of navigating it though that we talked about. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved everything you said. That was so good. And it's all about choosing. So when you're in this place, when you think of like the deep, dark womb, you think of like a baby being created or something actually being born. I actually had this download that when you're in the void and you're like, you really can't move forward. Like I had this analogy and I love what I think you said it, Christina, like you don't know, it's like dark and you don't know where to move. And you're just like, I feel like I should move somewhere, but you're like, nowhere really feels right or like anything like that. And I had this vision of, at least there's been parts of my void where I'm like, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to move this way. And Spirit's like, nope, you're going to sit your ass right back down and you're just going to stay where you're at, girl. And I'm just like, okay, I guess I'm just going to sit here then. And when you really can't move forward, I know that feeling of like Spirit's just like, there's nowhere to move right now. Like you just got to like be here. My favorite thing that I've just been tuning into lately is my pleasure. So what brings you pleasure? What turns you on? So like, when you don't know if your day is like so unknown, it's like, what if you just woke up in the morning and you're like, what can I do to be turned on today? And Holly and I had this conversation. Like, how can I just be turned on by my breakfast? How can I be turned on by my conversations? How can I be turned on by my clothes that I wear? How can I be turned on? And so when you're looking for this new identity, I mean, for me, and I think for all of us, like, I feel like it's a more turned on version of ourselves, right? Like it's a more like lit up, full of life version of ourselves that gets to come back in the like rebirth, right? And so if you're looking for that version of yourself, that's like one of the easiest things for me to do is like, okay, how can I either make this a pleasurable experience? So like taking a bath, you can light candles or you can like do the things. So things you'd normally do that were just like whatever. If you're stuck in this place and you can't move, you might as well make that like light some candles in the space and like play some sexy music and like, you know, like maybe have a pleasure session, you know, like this is the way that babies are born. It comes from like pleasure. Like it literally starts with pleasure. That's where life is created. Like our wombs are our life area, our life, not area, but our life like portals. Okay. So when you think about your womb, the way anything is created in there is through pleasure and desire and these things. So what if you were to lean into your pleasure right now, just right in this moment, if you were going to make tonight a pleasurable night, how does that change your night going forward? Just that simple invitation. If your night was going to be a pleasurable night tonight, what does that change? And if tomorrow is going to be a pleasurable day, what changes in your day? And it's like, I do this now when I'm in the void and it's like I love to use like new clothes or whatever, like what feels good on my skin or what feels pleasurable. So this is something that you can really use as kind of like a guiding light when it feels like there is no light, is like what would really turn me on to do, or what would be really fun to do. Who would it be really fun to become? Not like what would make me the most money or what would be the right thing, or like in a relationship, like what would be the right relation, like who would be fun to date, like who would be fun, and these things of like calling in this fun, pleasurable experience, and that light up is what's going to lead you to your next thing. Like let that be your guiding force of like, yeah, like if I'm gonna go on with my night tonight, like what could I do to have pleasure in this moment? Because if you're stuck in the void, you might as well experience some pleasure while you're there. And I feel like that pleasure, and I love also that word curiosity, because curiosity can also lead you to some really dope stuff. And curiosity to be about new things. So you're not this person anymore. That person's gone. And maybe that person didn't normally like go out on the weekends, or maybe that person didn't normally like pick up a sexy book to read, or maybe that person didn't normally do this. How can you like maybe this new person and just get curious, like, wait, do I like sexy books? Would I maybe like to go out on a weekend? Like, would I like this thing? Like, would I? And so just tuning into that of like, okay, this person's dead, but I'm kind of getting to know this, like, this infinite space, and like get curious, because then you can try these things and be like, oh nope, that's not part of my new journey, or that is. And maybe it's like mountain biking, or I don't even know what it is, but it's an invitation into curiosity of life and just adventure in general, which I love. When I'm in the void, I almost get kind of excited at one point. There's definitely the part that I'm just like, where I'm so confused. And then it like kind of gets into this other stage where I'm like, oh, this is actually so fun. Like if you think about the stage where you're like dating, that stage is so fun. You're like dating a bunch of different guys, and you're like kind of figuring out what you like and what you don't like. And that can be the void too. It's just this fun thing of like, imagine you're just like dating life right now, and you're like, oh, what if I want to try this new food? Or what if I want to try learning this new language? Or what if I want to try this new identity on? So following your pleasure is a really beautiful, like, guiding light. Because when you're lit up by life, like you're also a magnet for dope shit. You just are. Like there was a girl, I was listening to this in a podcast actually, and she's like, I can walk by a woman and I can tell if her pussy is online or offline. And just think about yourself for a minute. If someone walked by you, would they be like, that girl's pussy is online? you know? Like, where is she offline? Like, is she dead to life? And just like sit with that. Like, is your pussy popping right now? Or are you just like shriveled, like, because we've all been both places, and I just feel like that. I feel like when you're turned on, and not just in bed, but just by like the foods you're eating and the things you're doing and the people you're talking to and the conversations you're having, like, are you turned on? Is your pussy turned on? And that's such a beautiful way to navigate the void, is just like, how can I turn my life force on today? How can I turn my pussy on today? If someone saw me today and I wanted them to know my pussy was online, what would I have to do with my morning, with my life to get there? So that's just a little invite. Do you have anything to say about that, Lindsay?
I do. Yeah, just to piggyback on what you said. Um, Another way that we can kind of experience or turn on, for some people, that's really easy to access. And it's like, okay, I can think about pleasure and kind of go like the sexy route. For others of us, like I feel very turned on. This sounds really weird after I just said that, but it's more through the energy of my inner child, of being excited, curious, playful. And my inner child just wants to experiment, and that word curiosity coming through. So for me, it's kind of like throwing caution to the wind and being like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, especially like the energy of children is they're so present and so in the moment. They're not thinking about what could happen or what might happen or what if this, and that. They're like, this sounds fun, I'm going to do that. So that's kind of where my energy goes. But for others of you, I think some people get into their turn on or into their pleasure zone through challenge, actually. So for those of you that kind of enjoy the challenge of it, I want you to start paying attention to, I'll use clothes as an example. You're going shopping and you see a piece of clothing and you're like, wow, this material is beautiful, or there's something about it that you like. And your next thought is, that's so beautiful for someone, but I could never wear that. It's like, or can I? Or can I wear that? Okay, all right, I'm gonna make myself buy that thing and I'm going to wear it, even if it's just around your house. Do it. Start challenging yourself. If your friend says, hey, like, why don't you go call in and take a sick day and let's go to the spa? You know, and it's like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. That sounds fantastic. But I can't do that. You know, when really, you know, you have the sick days and you could, it's like, can you really not do it? Or can you do it? Like maybe this is life's challenges for you to kind of be like, hey, wake up. Like there are these opportunities here for your pleasure. And are you blocking your own miracles? Are you blocking your own adventures? Are you blocking your own pleasurable experiences by thinking that you can't, by thinking that you shouldn't, or maybe even that you're unworthy of them? That you haven't put the time in, the effort in, the whatever in to deserve it. Pay attention in your void to how life approaches you with these opportunities to change your mindset around what you're worthy of and what's possible for you and what you really can lean into. So start listening for when you hear your mind say, I can't, or I shouldn't, right? Or I don't know about that, but there's still that part of you that's actually like, that would be really fun, but, or I would really enjoy that, but it's like, no, can you do it? Can you allow yourself to have that experience and play in it? That's very rebellious energy too, that can also be pleasurable, is just like, or can I, you know? And that's always a fun invitation to play with. I actually, I did one summer of saying yes to everything because I had said no to things for so long. And this was like at the beginning of my healing journey. And it was one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done in my life. And I have literally never had more fun. I got myself into all sorts of trouble and like mischief and like, you know, just did all of these things. And looking back, I'm so proud of that version of me because I broke my own glass ceiling on who I thought I could be and how I could express myself. And that's such a fun way to play. Um, Also, just to bring it back around to your suggestion earlier, Tilly, just want to make sure everyone heard this of sometimes moving things around in your home. One thing I love to do is my first kind of ritual in the morning is usually to make myself a cup of tea. And or I like make a smoothie or I juice my celery, I do whatever, but it always is with these cups in my cabinet. So I love taking all of the cups and all of the mugs and putting them in a different cabinet and switching it with my plates. And so I'm like, you know, sleepy in the morning, like kind of waking up. I'm usually getting ready to go meditate, like right out of sleep. And so I go and I like open the cabinet. And then when the cups aren't there, I just start laughing. And every time I see that there are plates there instead of cups, I give myself that mantra of, oh yeah, I'm a new person now. I'm becoming a new woman. This is my new reality. So that can be really powerful. Or, you know, if you always roll over and your alarm, you know, your phone or your alarm clock is on one side of the bed, switch it to the other side of the bed. So the first thing in the morning, when you go to reach over and you're like, wait, oh, where is it? It's like, oh yeah, I'm becoming a new version of myself. Like that honestly, I feel like that is the void energy of like remembering like, what, where did it all go? Like stuff is getting rearranged and then being like, oh yeah, that's amazing. Like I'm leveling up here. And that's just a fun reminder to have through your day.
Yes, I love that.
I love
Yeah,
these comments coming in, you guys.
yeah. I love this LOL in my high top for the first time in a long time and in my 40s. I'm loving it because I'm comfortable and feel good. Yes, queen. That's what's up.
Yes, I love that.
I love that. Yeah, I love that bit about saying yes. And I also just want to add in something that I've just been really playing with lately is if there's something I'm desiring to do, my answer is yes first. First, before I even I'm like, do I have the money for this? Or do I have the, do I have the time for this? Or do I have the this? Like, it's like, yes. Like, if it's something I'm really wanting to do, I'm like, the answer is just try on yes first, and then like figuring it out after. Because the cool thing about the void and also this whole year is miracles happening. And so it's like really a time when you can expect miracles. And so it's really fun to just like start with this like decision of like yes, and then see how the universe like lines it up. That's like such a side note, but something with like your desires and just starting to say yes and just starting to say yes to things and noticing where you're opening. It's really interesting because I just broke up with my boyfriend and we were like still seeing each other like really steady. And I started having these guys write me. And before I was like, no, I have this boundary with Bobby and all these things, but I felt myself kind of like opening. And I'm like, okay. And it's not even really guys that I feel like are the one or that I really want to date, but I felt this opening. And I was like, okay, maybe that's something I like want to start playing around with. And so is there anything that's kind of like opening in your field too? Because the void, like letting go of these things, it's like, oh, maybe I can be like open to it's kind of like what you were saying, or like, or can I? Like, can I do this thing? And just being open to the new because the new is coming. And even it's dressed in something uncomfortable. I can promise you that because you're not used to it. And so when the new comes in, your normal self is going to be like, "Oh no," like your old neural pathways and it's also the same with going back. So there may be moments that you feel yourself like wanting to go back to how you've been or like reverting back to like an old way and it almost just like doesn't even work anymore. So it's like that can be kind of startling as well of just like, oh, I went to hit my head against the same wall and it just hurt again and I just can't keep doing it, like and so there's just like this energy of like you might as well move towards the new because the old is done. Like it's so fucking over and we're bored of it and it's time to move on. And so it's like the new. And so I'd love to actually hear about does anyone feeling anything new coming into your field?
Yeah. Like
Any little
what's
like
being birthed?
sprigs. And you don't have to know what's being birthed. I mean, the void is very much like, oh my gosh, like, but is there anything you feel like you're opening to or a part of yourself that you're opening to that maybe has been like pushed down or anything like that? I would just love to hear. And if you don't know, that's okay because the void is all about there's different stages of the void, right? There's like yeah, we talked about this. There's like the beginning where it's just like awful and you're disintegrating. There's the middle where you're just like mush and goo. And then there's like the beginning of the creation. And this is those pieces I'm talking about. Is like there anything like kind of coming in? Thank you, Tilly. I can really resonate. I come from a place of yes, and yes, old is fucking done. New career, new health, new relationship, new hobbies, new wealth, but most importantly, newfound freedom. I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Definitely my sexuality feeling worthy of my turn on. Yes, Holly. Fuck yeah, Holly. Not ashamed. Yeah, just owning
Love
it.
that. And I want to reflect as well that our sexuality, our creativity is energetically held in our sacral chakra, which is our womb. And the void is the cosmic womb of time, space of the universe. It's this in between, right? Like it's the space of no thing. Nothing exists there. And yet it's like promise that something will exist there, whether it's a creative spark for our business or our sexuality, our turn on, something that lights us up, or like biologically a baby. Like it could be so many things, right? So really beautiful that that's something that's kind of being lit flame for you, Holly. And that's very, very voidy. I love it. Also, Ashley said, opening up to the acceptance that perfection isn't necessary. Yes, it is okay to be messy and vulnerable. Being wrong won't kill me. Yes, totally. I love that. Opening up to new ways to work, to make a living. Lila, that is so beautiful. I love that. So there is
Actually,
this kind of like, sorry, this inkling of maybe we don't know exactly what's coming in, but there's this beginning that we can feel ourselves getting curious about. And that's really exciting. What were you going to say, Tilly? Sorry.
I was gonna say, Ashley, I feel like you should try not to be perfect. I feel like you should try the opposite. I feel like you should try to be a complete mess and just see how that feels, like on purpose, just fuck it up royally and see how that feels. Because I think what you'll realize is you don't die. I think, like you said, it won't kill you. And so I really feel like, yeah, yes, I'm trying so damn hard. Good for you. Even little things like just adding, I don't know, like it just
Let the sink be a mess. Just leave your dishes in it. Like, don't do the laundry for a whole week and just let it be a mess. Get halfway through a book and then just put it on your coffee table still open. Just leave it there. Do
Don't finish
nothing.
a puzzle, Ashley. Just don't finish it.
That would be
Just
hard.
leave it on your thing and just three pieces out and just don't even. That's so funny. And it's so interesting because it's like, can I let it? Can I let the dishes just sit there?
And that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's like, I can't do that. And it's like, well, or can I? Or can I do it? It's such a fun in between to play with.
Ashley, I love you so much. Yay. I like it. And that's the cool thing about the void is it is messy. We did this practice in sacral where we just like colored. I think some of you guys were there, where we just like colored and we went crazy and it was just like and it was like purposely messy. If you guys feel called to do that practice, it's amazing because it just takes off the pressure. Dishes I can leave, but not the puzzle. That's the challenge. If I'll try it, I leave everything till the point of no return. Yes, I'm right there with you. And then, but then it's my own house that I have to live in, and no one else is coming to clean it up. So I'm like, oh, but it's good. It's the void. It's the mess. It's like the goo. It's the goo. And this is also something that I love. I mean, all of this is turning into sex because I mean, we're women and this is how it goes. But the void is almost like the build up to the orgasm. Okay. And like when you're very far away and then when you're like getting closer and closer, like it just feels like the void is such a precious time of like, because once you arrive there, you've arrived and there's no more like once you like fully arrive in this thing, it's like the exploration kind of goes away because you're like, oh well, now I'm this new reborn person and I'm not gonna go to listen to some weird rock band on the weekend, or I'm not gonna go, like do this thing. So it's like it's just this, to me it feels like the teenage years. Okay, it's like literally that same energy of the teenage years where you get to just like go play and explore and you're just like kind of wild and you're kind of just like, I don't know what I like. And that's the vibe. And it's okay to freaking be there. It's
Yeah.
okay to just be in this energy of like, I can go like wear a halter top and whatever into Walmart and I just don't care because I'm like, whatever, like it's a really cool time because it's like you can't even really expect anything of yourself at that time because you don't even know who you are. So it's really cool to like live life with no expectations. It's a really dope place to be.
Yeah. And going back to the idea of orgasm for a second, I don't know if any of you guys have experienced this, but I feel like with with the void being kind of the buildup to the orgasm, it's kind of like it can be a little bit uncomfortable. You can feel a little bit stiff, or like you can feel that there's like this release coming, but then your whole body is kind of holding on. And sometimes after you orgasm, you can look back and sort of be like, oh, it's over. Like, I wish I could go back and do the whole experience again. Right. That is the void. It's while you're in it, it does feel a little uncomfortable. You can feel this buildup. You don't know how it's going to like come out and express itself out of you. And yet you can't really hold it back. You can. But again, like I've heard it described before of like holding back an orgasm is like holding back a sneeze. It just feels terrible. And all this energy is like, just you're making weird faces and your body contorts and does strange things. And it's meant to come out. It's meant to flow. It's meant to open you. Speaking of what we're opening to. And so the void really is a very sacred passageway to your own opening and to your own expansion. And so often I've talked about it before, but when we ask for a manifestation or for our next up level, or you're like, okay, universe, I want to make more money. Okay, universe, I like want to call in my soulmate. Okay, universe, I really want to love myself. And then right after we ask that, we have a challenge in that exact area that we asked about. And we're like, oh no, I must have done something wrong. I can't handle this. Like, why is it working against me? And it's like, no, the universe heard you and said, I'm going to crack you into opening into the limitless possibilities. I'm going to take you on the journey to arrive to the most pleasurable, orgasmic, like beautiful place that is different every single time, just slightly. And can you be in the discomfort and in the opening? Can you be in the contraction and in the expansion at the same time and just notice what that is like? And the way that I loved the word you used, Tilly, of sort of like, it's kind of this wild energy. like being in this rewilding of, I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to fit in these boxes. I'm in my teenage phase. Like I can feel rebellious and angsty and I cannot know who I am and just be emotional and just expressive all over the place. And I can feel different in an hour than I do right now. And all of that is building me towards that thing that I've asked for, whether I remember consciously that I asked for it or not. It's sort of like the void is the universe's way of, again, taking your external mirrors and almost distorting them, showing you where there's a little bit of distortion in the field where it's like, this mirror doesn't match how worthy you are. And we're going to illuminate that mirror for you so that it kind of becomes painful to look in, or it just becomes uncomfortable to look in. It becomes foggy, confusing, cloudy to look in. So you have nowhere else to look but inside and claim your worthiness and choose what you're stepping into. Choose to have that larger perspective and choose the ride. Choose leaning into your pleasure while you're waiting for this great thing to manifest, right? Like while you're waiting for this great thing to get here, might as well lean into the adventure, the play, the wildness, the experience of opening and being in that duality, because that's where we really hold it all. The discomfort, like the pleasure and the pain, right? It's all of it all together. And that is really, that's the secret sauce. It really does make you magnetic, and it just really kind of makes you invincible as well, because if you can be present with the discomfort, you can handle every single discomfort that comes your way. Just having that and choosing to say, like, I'm present in this. I'm present in this opening. I'm present in this change. I'm present in this transition. And just see what it does to not only you and your body and your nervous system and your mind, body, soul, but also in your life, how your life rallies around to meet you, and how kind of the universe rearranges itself to help you co-create that next level or whatever you've asked for. So this is the process. This is the in-between space. And it really is just so powerful.
Gives me like hanged man energy. Like on the tarot card, the hanged man, when he's just like hanging there by his feet. And it's like when you really can't do anything, like those moments when you're like, I just don't know where to move forward. Then don't do anything. Just don't do anything. Like just don't. And one of my favorite practices for the void that I just want to offer to you guys while you're in this space is going into a dark room with a blindfold and no noise and being in that for at least 15 minutes a day. Being in the actual void, sitting in it fully for 15 minutes a day of just like, I'm in this place with nothing, and just finding yourself there. It's like Lindsay said, like looking down and finding your own light. So without these things that are telling you like, oh, this or this, like also just like being with yourself and just being like, okay. And when I had you guys talk about the thing that's dying within you, that's actually usually the thing that's being birthed in you as well. So there's like a different version of that that's being birthed. And so really leaning into like what's been dying and maybe journaling about every single thing that feels like it's died within you, whether it's like I said, like a breakup or your money or anything like that, it's all coming up to be purified in this rebirth. So now moving forward, how do you go forward in relationships? How do you go forward with your job or the way you've been working or your business or your money? Like how do you, it all came up to be purified, like, and you're like, okay, I'm not making money anymore that way. Now I'm going to make it a new way. What does this way look like? Or now I'm not doing relationships like that anymore. What does this way look like? So it's usually where your death is, and especially your deepest death, where it is making space for your greatest rebirth. And so really being with yourself of like just every single thing that feels like it's died, like through COVID, like in the collective, like in the feminine, like all of it, because this is also the feminine. The feminine is rising. It's having a rebirth. Like I feel like we've been through this deep death. We are all feeling the death of this like boss babe, CEO, push, 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 da, 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 da. And so it's like now we're all here and we get to decide what the feminine looks like from now on. We are the ones that get to choose like, okay, the feminine's actually not going to do it all anymore. We're going to say no. And I don't feel like paying all the bills and raising all the kids and cooking all the meals and doing the things. I'm not doing it anymore. So what am I going to do? And I'm done not feeling pleasure to my fullest. I'm done being sexually repressed. And so what does that look like for me now? Like now I get to be as sexual as I want to be, and I get to celebrate my sexuality because it's the divine and me co-creating, and I get to move into that now. Like what does that look like? And so just wherever your deepest death is where your rebirth is at. And just being with all of it. Have you even sat with all of it and thought about what's fully dying and all the things that have died? And then just being in the void with this thing of like, okay, I know what's gone. I kind of know what's coming based on what's left. Like I get to restructure all this stuff. And so just again choosing that new path. Yeah.
Yeah. Well said.
Beautiful. Yeah,
I
because it's
feel
all of us. We're all here. We're all the feminine that are like, heck no, no more, no mo, no more. I'm done people pleasing. I am done with all of this. Like, I get to be my wild, free self. And so, yeah.
absolutely. I feel called to offer as well. Are there any questions you all have, either for us or just in general, or any points of discussion about the void that you would like to bring into the space? If you have anything you feel like sharing or any questions you'd like to ask, please feel free to leave it in the chat. You can also say me, and we can call on you and unmute yourself if you'd like to share. Just feel called to offer that to you guys if there's something that's on your heart that you want to include here. No pressure either.
Yeah. Or anything you find particularly difficult about the void.
Mm-hmm. I think the transition of the feminine is something also that is energetically coded into this year, into 2023, into the year of 7, into the year of water, the year of the mystic, the year of the rabbit. It is highly feminine. 7 being a number that relates to luck, abundance, and miracles, but it also correlates to our third eye and our crown chakras as well. It's bringing the divine to earth. And intuition is something that really can't be put in a box. It's something that can't be even explained, really. Our intuition moves differently for all of us. And that's something I feel called to anchor in as well as we are maybe wrapping up our conversation here about the void, at least for now, is, are you in tune with your intuition during this time? And can you notice how your intuition and maybe even your body, what it's asking of you? And I want to talk about your emotions as well, because your emotions are guiding you towards what's serving you and what's no longer serving you, what's dying, what's changing. And your emotions are kind of the bridge in between the ending and the new beginning, between the death and the rebirth as well. Your emotions are helping move that old energy out of you and is welcoming new energy in as well. And remembering that you can play with your emotions, you can play with your experience, can be really helpful during this time. But I would encourage all of you to lean into practices that support your intuition. So like Tilly said, being in the void, spending time in quiet, spending time alone, just to hear the sound of your own voice. Again, your identity is being rebirthed, it's being changed. And so we can't really sit with who we're becoming when we're still taking in everyone else all the time. It's important for us to just have small pockets of our day, at least one time a day, where it's just us and our own energy, to be like, okay, who am I today? I'll offer this practice as well. It's one I've offered before. But something I love to do in my morning practice when I wake up in the morning is ask myself that question: who am I today? I just woke up. I've had a reset while I was sleeping. Who am I today? And you know how some days you wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Some days you wake up stressed and you don't know why. Some days you wake up totally blissed out and you're just relaxed or you're excited. Every day we're slightly different. We could have been affected by a dream. We could have been affected by a conversation we had yesterday. And if we wake up and it's still in our space, it's kind of part of asking ourselves, okay, what's in my space today and who am I today? And we can either sit with what's there if it needs to be addressed, or if we're feeling clear, we can choose who we're going to be that day and just use that as our anchoring practice as we're moving throughout time, right? As we're moving throughout our day of like, this is who I am today, or this is what I'm carrying with me. And having that knowledge can kind of be a guide for us as we're moving through. And you're probably going to be different every single day. That alone can be a reflection of not only how you're changing, but of being present with your emotions and your intuition and where it's guiding you, what life is asking you to pay attention to, what patterns you're asked to pay attention to, what triggers you're being asked to pay attention to. So welcome that into your space as well. Just that question of, who am I? Who am I today? Who am I just in this moment? I was a different person this morning than I am right now. I've been probably 6 different people today, at least. Because why not? Because I'm exploring all the different facets of myself. And that's a beautiful practice too. It kind of reminds me actually of Alice in Wonderland, where she says, like, I believe in at least 6 impossible things before breakfast, or I can do 6 impossible things before breakfast. It reminds me of that, where you're playing in the void. You're in a liminal space of creation, of being in the cosmic womb. Like, what impossible things can you make possible? I want to share one final thing that's coming through as well. This is actually a practice that Tilly offered. You can share it if you want to, but it's taking the word impossible and then crossing out the I am at the front, and it becomes possible. And having that practice with yourself. And it kind of reminds me of that energy of like, I can't do that, or can I? Or I shouldn't do that, or should I? Right? It's that practice of seeing it visually, like, this is impossible. No, this is possible for me. What if I got curious? What if it could be possible? Let me play in that field. Let me play in the energy of that and see what that opens in me and opens within you as well.
Yes, yes, yes. Sonia says learning to trust and let go is needed, and I'm trying to work on that. One of my favorite things for learning, I mean, and we kind of talked about it a little already, for learning how to trust in the void is knowing I'm in the void. And I can tell you right now, if you're on this call, you are definitely in the void. And this is probably just the universe that's like, yo, you're in the void. And just again, that deep relaxing into like, okay, I'm in the void and I actually don't know, have to know. And the cool thing that I love about the void, that I've noticed about the universe, is when the universe is, because the universe is birthing you through this rebirth. And I've noticed that even like, it's just really wild how when I'm in the void, I feel like I'm so held, even when I don't know where it's like, so for example, like with money, my boyfriend was the provider, and he and I broke up, and I had like $2 in my account when we broke up, and I was just like in the void, and I'm like, I'm not supposed to be making any courses right now. It was like that same feeling of like, any direction I move, I'm like not supposed to go. And so I was just like, there's nothing I can do right now. I just have to like surrender to this $2 in my bank account. And you guys, money just started coming in from just like crazy places. And I was just like, it was like the universe was just like holding me in that. And so if you can just sit there and trust that the universe has got you, like it always has, your whole life. Like, you think, like you said, you've been through many voids in your life, many voids. And every time you're probably like, how the fuck am I going to make it through this one? Like, how do we get through this one, universe? And here you are. Having made it through many voids. And so I love how the universe just like swoops in really cool ways, especially when you're in the void. Like the universe just like, it's like, I've got you while you're sitting here and figuring it out, and you're held. It's like the cocoon. The universe is like your cocoon. And it's like, all you've got to do is be here. You have everything you need in this little cocoon. You're good. Just let it all come to you. Let it all flow. And when you have inspired action, you take it. You don't just sit there. But if there's no inspired action, you literally feel like you can't move forward. Tune into your pleasure. Go eat some cacao. And just sit with it, and just enjoy it, read a sexy novel, like whatever. That's sometimes the move. Sometimes that's the move. So yeah, be with it. And then that, I know that doesn't really help you learn to trust, but like I said, sometimes it helps knowing that you're supposed to be there. And I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be in the void. Okay, I can trust now, because I know that I'm not supposed to know.
Yeah. Give yourself permission to be here. And just notice when I'm saying that, how does that feel? If you were going to sit right now and just say out loud to yourself, I'm in the void and I give myself permission to fully be here. What does that do for your nervous system? What does that feel like in your body? For me personally, giving myself that permission to be in the void is like, oh, okay, there's nothing I need to do. I don't have to jump into action. I don't have to figure it out. It's like the Hanged Man. It's like, great, I'm just going to like lay upside down and check out this new perspective and just like chill. This is awesome. Thanks, universe, for taking this off my plate. Yeah, Sonia said a sense of relief. Amazing. Yeah, it feels the same way for me. So give yourself that permission.
Yes. So that's just basically the main teaching. When you're in the void, let yourself be there. It's such an important part of the journey. It's the most important part of the journey, even though it doesn't feel like it. You know, the caterpillar, I mean, everyone sees the caterpillar and then the butterfly, but they're like the cocoon is where the freaking magic all happens. And so let yourself be in that magic, and that's the teaching. And when you don't know, tune into your pleasure. Pleasure is the start of everything. Pleasure is the start of creation. Pleasure is the start of life force. Like pleasure is the start of life just in general. So yeah, it all starts with pleasure. Turn on.
I love it. I love it. So, speaking of being in the void and being in pleasure and all the things we talked about so far, Tilly and I actually have a special kind of offer that we'd like to just kind of announce. And you can just close your eyes, feel into it, see if it's for you. Tilly and I, as we've been sharing with you all, have been in our own voids. We've been exploring who we're not, who we're becoming, and kind of dancing with the divine. And we've been really inspired to create a space, a home, a community for the feminine to be rewild, a space for all of us to explore who we are. And it's through a kind of community membership called Wonderland. If you all were in Down the Rabbit Hole, or you remember our marketing for this course, Down the Rabbit Hole was all about the fall into Wonderland, the falling into your life, the surrendering, the trust, the learning about your intuition. And Wonderland is this place of exploration. And that's what we really believe Wonderland to be. It's really, we're kind of imagining Wonderland as this holographic festival in a way. You know how you go to a music festival and you choose the girlfriends that you're going to go with, or any friends, right? And when you go to this music festival, if you've ever been to one, or to kind of like a concert in general, you get to put on a little bit of a persona sometimes if you choose to. You get to choose your outfit, you get to choose the makeup you wear, you get to choose the friends that you go with, you choose how you're going to get there. You kind of get to lose yourself and also find yourself in this experience. And Tilly and I wanted to create a container that felt like this. It's like we are taking a road trip. We're packing up a little hippie van and we're driving to this festival of Wonderland. And at Wonderland, you get to decide which persona you're putting on every single day, with a group of women that get to support you in that. So Wonderland is a place that really is a home for the feminine to, again, be rewild, to discover who we are. And the feminine is the void. It's chaotic, it's creation, it's letting go, it's opening, it's inviting in, all at the same time. And this has been a creation that's so alive for Tilly and I. We've been kind of creating this behind the scenes for months, and we are so excited to be kind of officially offering it, opening it, and announcing it. So I'll turn it over to you, Tilly, if you maybe want to kind of say anything more about what the void is, what it's like, what it includes, your vision for it, all of it.
For Wonderland?
Yeah.
Yeah. It just feels like this place where women can come and remember ourselves, to remember what it is to be feminine, because I feel like we have been taught a very wild way our whole life. And so, not a wild way. I mean, that really was the wild thing that we ever even like bought into it. But like now it's like a coming home to authenticity and remembering our feminine. I've had some courses that people are like, I really want to be in my feminine, and it's hard when I like the masculine is so feminine right now and all these things. And I actually had this vision that it's actually women remembering their femininity that actually changes everything. We go back and we change our families, we go and change the world. And so this is just for us to remember our feminine. And we want to talk about things like sacred sexuality, how to even tune back into that, and how to tune into the divine through sex. And we want to talk about key code mentors and how to work with key code mentors like Isis and Hathor, and use these key code mentors to teach us like higher levels of learning. And we want to talk about the tarot and the moon and the cycles of the seasons, and really coming back to like this cyclical nature that our bodies were meant for, not this like hustle bustle thing. And how to be in each chapter and how to celebrate in each chapter and how to be feminine in each chapter and season of our lives. And so, yeah, that's why it's kind of more of a membership, because this is the year of water. This whole year, like I said, is going to be like kind of a voidy energy of discovering ourselves. And so we just want a place. Lindsay and I have just been craving a place where we're like, how can we come together and talk about these things and have someone like another girlfriend to like bounce this off of and be with and hear her perspective and kind of like this gathering perspective. So that's what Wonderland is. And it's a remembrance and it's a rewilding and it's women to do it with. So you don't feel like you're doing it all alone. And yeah, it's a group of girlfriends just getting their it's getting their groove back. As Stella gets her groove back, yeah, it's just gonna be us. Stella's getting our grooves back. Yes. It's gonna be epic. I'm excited. And that's the thing, is it's something that I feel like I need so desperately, and I feel like so many women do, because we're like, oh, I want to be more feminine. Wait, what does that look like? So yeah, we're just really ready to dive deep into that. And the mentors we have for it are dope. Lindsay and I channel different mentors like Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Bridget, Kalima, all the ones, and we just bring the fire. So I'm super excited to bring the feminine back the way it's supposed to be. It feels good in our system, feels good in our body, and not only ours, but to ripple it out and change our families in the world, our partners, our relationships. Everything gets to change when we embody it ourselves, and it starts with us. So yeah, that's the thing.
Absolutely. You'll see us talking about it more, but if you're interested and you're vibing with it, and especially if you've been through the void before, and especially throughout this conversation, if you're like, yeah, this really is where I am. And maybe if you've been in it for a while, or you have the intuitive sense of like, man, this probably will be my year. If you're going through major transitions that you know aren't going to be buttoned up in a month, right? But it's going to be kind of an expansive process. We invite you into this home. And just like Tilly said, I need this. I need this home. I know Tilly needs this home. And really, I believe that this is the year of the feminine being rewild, of feminine rising. Like, women and feminine beings are gathering all over the world. It's not just this space, but we feel called to create a space for our communities to join together and have an anchor. That's how Wonderland, to me, it's like an anchor and a permission for me to be feminine here. It's an anchor and a permission for me to chat with my girlfriends and to listen to my intuition. So in my life, when I'm being the business owner, when I'm being like, when I'm taking care of my house and I'm worried about like my adult things like money, paying bills, insurance, my like car payment, fixing all the things and doing all of that's important. And I want a home that I can come to that leaves all my divine masculine energy at the door, and I get to come in and play. I get to come in and explore. And if that's something that feels exciting, feels pleasurable to you, and it's something that you're like, hell yeah, I would like to be in a space with other women navigating this, it's going to be really powerful. We imagine that inside of Wonderland, there's going to be energy updates. Like Tilly said, we're going to be channeling, bringing tarot as well. We're going to have group calls where we just lean in and share, kind of like a sisterhood sharing circle, but also there's going to be deep teachings from Tilly and I too. There's going to be Reiki transmissions, all sorts of incredible, very powerful things. And we're so excited to see how it comes through. Because the third party between Tilly and I, and of course the highest power between all of us, is the divine. Like, it's just a container for us to worship the divine outside of us and within us, whatever that means to you and whatever that means to each of us individually. So keep an eye out for Wonderland. If it's something you're jazzed about and you're excited about, let Tilly and I know. Shoot us a DM and we can tell you more about how to register, how to sign up. We can answer all of your questions, but we wanted to drop this here and officially kind of open it and open the space to receive you and receive anyone that wants to come through. So thank you so much for being here with us, you guys. Thank you for really opening to the void. And I'm extending that invitation not only through me, but I have guides behind me as well that are coming in or specifically asking me to tell you how grateful the divine is, your guides, your higher selves, for being here, for listening to your intuition, and for getting curious about the void, for wanting to join a conversation about the in-between, for wanting to commune with other like-minded women and people to be like, okay, what is this energy I'm feeling? What is this in between? And why are so many people feeling it, right? Like, I know that so many people are going to be watching the replay of this as well. We had, I think, 44 of you sign up for this masterclass. So you know that when that many people are vibing with a masterclass, it's no mistake. It is a collective energy that's coming through, and we all deserve to have that support, that community support, that collective support, as well as we're moving through this time. So thank you for being here. Thank you for receiving. Thank you for opening to these teachings, and for being here with Tilly and I. We do not take your energy for granted in this space, and it's been so beautiful to share it with all of you.
Yes. So moving forward in your void now that you're in, or for the rest of your life, it's just honoring it as the sacred space that it is. It is such a sacred space, and just really honoring it and welcoming it and celebrating it, because it's so juicy when you let yourself just be there. Even the unknown is kind of juicy. There's part of us that are kind of like, I don't know what's happening. Then it's kind of like, and I kind of like it. So yeah, like just tuning in, and yeah, so just holding it as the sacred space it is, and just knowing that when you're in it, you're supposed to be in it, and it's so necessary. And instead of just tuning out or zoning out and watching Netflix or like eating junk food, like doing the things that you normally do when you don't want to feel things, like just really getting curious and like exploring, what would I like to learn right now? If I want to learn a new language, or I want to join a dance class, or I want to do these things, like everything, there's this space that's created, and what do you want to fill it with? Because it's easy to fill it with Netflix. It's easy to fill it with junk food. It's easy to fill it with, toxic guys. That part is so easy. It's a little too easy. But opening to like, hey, what do I really want to bring into this space is really what's going to make the transformation. Like the glow up is just going to be that much more like glowy. Okay. So yes, thank you guys for being here. We love you so much. If you are interested in Wonderland, it's going to be more like this. You guys, just girly conversation. We're probably going to bring up orgasms a lot. It's going to be very just like, we somehow always come back to that, because it's the thing. It is the thing. So yeah, if you're interested in more of this, just girl time community, like talking about like, hey, this is where we're at right now. This is where we're going through. We're probably all feeling it. And it's so good to have people just kind of bounce things off and be like, this is where I am. So yeah, more of this is where I feel like what I'm calling in to say about. Oh, thank you. You are so sweet. Thank you, Sonia. You guys are all amazing. Thank you for being here. We love you. And yeah, that's a wrap. Yeah. Do we have anything else
Yeah.
to say? Okay. Happy voiding. When in doubt, tune into what's going to turn that pussy on. Yeah. That's the,
Yes.
that's the
We
code.
love you all. Have a beautiful rest of your night. And thank you so much for joining us. We can't wait to see how your voids all unfold. We
Mhm.
love you.
Love you. Happy voiding. Yes.
Yes. You guys are
Yes.
so welcome. You're all so sweet. We love you so much.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking your time to be here. Love it.
Yay. All right. Thank you, you guys. Bye.